Hi, I'm Jacob Bonta, host of Growth and Beyond. After generating millions of dollars in pipeline value for various companies via fundamental marketing principles and leveraging modern technology, we made this show to interview top business leaders and highlight the ways to achieve growth for your business. If you'd like to level up your customer base and let us help you grow, email me at jacob@lowlandscollective.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Growth and Beyond. I'm very excited. Today, I'm chatting with Jared Ward, co-founder and CEO of Luminous, a software solution that organizes your supply chain data from source to sale and every stage between. So I'm excited for you to hear about Jared's journey because I believe he embodies all of the necessary characteristics that a strong and potentially uber successful founder should embody, truly. One of the stories he touches on in the interview is how he was able to sell one of his previous employers a solution that he actually created on the job, essentially, while using his own money to create it. It's a great example of, I think, the proactive aggressiveness that you need to have as a founder and really as an entrepreneur in general. With that being said, let's get to it. Here's my conversation with the co-founder and CEO of Luminous, Jared Ward. How's it going, Jared? Thanks for coming on the show.
Good. How are you doing, Jacob?
Pretty good, pretty good. If you don't mind, just take a second to say what's up to our audience and share something that you believe to be the biggest myth when it comes to growing a business.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Biggest myth to growing a business. What comes up off the top of my head would be working hard. I feel like hustle culture is it's giving a lot of bad expectations for what it takes to be successful. And I think success is the accumulation of results towards an aim or a goal.
Mm-hmm.
And working hard, it's really easy to convince yourself that you're working hard, which is what I think most entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs do. It's easy to come up with a checklist of things and then wonder why, like, I'm working hard, like, why am I not getting these results? It's like, no, your hard work. I mean, hard work is like, that's like the entry point. Like, yeah, of course you need to work hard. It's what leverage does your hard work actually have towards your results? And I don't know that, like, that's something that I find myself and my employees like fighting against that mindset of like all those YouTube videos that we've listened to. It's I don't really give a shit how many like outbound emails you've scheduled or how many LinkedIn posts, like all these check. It's like, no, how many deals did you close? Like what features did we roll out this month? Like, what is our client satisfaction? Like those are the things that matter. And if I have an employee that's spending 10 hours but getting the results that are getting us towards our aim, then and I have an employee who's spending 60 hours but getting half the results, like, if I don't know. Working hard doesn't solve problems.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, to me, it's like, it's really about that focus. Like, if you choose the right thing to work on, obviously, like you said, you have to apply the hard work sort of characteristic or attribute, but hard work alone without the right focus doesn't yield success. I think the synergy between combining the two, that's what really allows you to at least open yourself up to the chance of success.
Yeah, I would say, like, I would replace the word hard work with commitment. Like, what are you committed? What results are you committed to achieving? And if you really are committed to your aim and the results that you need to do to achieve them, then of course you're going to work hard. Like, and if you're not working hard to achieve those results that you say you're committed to, then you're not actually committed to it.
Right.
And that's something to look into for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit of a tangent there, but
No, I love it. I'm all about tangents. This is great. So, okay, if we could so from where you are now, right? If we could just like pluck you out and place you back to where I guess essentially where you got started. Can you sort of walk us through your journey to becoming the co-founder slash CEO of Luminous and how you got started in the industry that you guys are focused
Yeah,
on?
yeah, absolutely. So, Luminous, just like quick context on what Luminous is, what we do.
Hmm.
So, Luminous is we're the simplest, most effective to use all-in-one solution for back-end e-commerce on the market. So, the aim or the goal, like I guess the why of Luminous is multi-channel e-commerce companies stagnate or fail in growth before about $10 million. And that's because of their lack or inability to use an all-in-one system, or what some people call like an ERP. So Luminous, we are filling the gap in that market. We are a all-in-one solution, or I guess you could say an ERP, a light ERP for multi-channel e-commerce companies that are fast growing. So we help those companies succeed and reach their potential. So how did I get into Luminous? um, so my background is in e-commerce and supply chain. It started actually when I dropped out of college. So I was in college. Um, I had no clue what the fuck I was doing. Are we have to swear? Is that
Yeah, yeah, totally cool.
okay? Yeah, yeah. So I had no clue what the fuck we were doing, what I was doing. Probably like most people in college. I knew as a creator I wanted to build. I spoke Chinese, so I spoke Cantonese and Mandarin in college. Like I had already lived in China and learned those languages. And it's like, well, I mean, I guess I kind of want to do something with business and I need a major to say I graduated college. I guess I'll major in Chinese. And yeah, like I don't know, 2 years into, I'm just like, fuck this. Like, if I'm doing this to get a certificate that says I speak Chinese when I already speak Chinese, like, what am I doing? So I dropped out. That's when I started. I started my Etsy store, Etsy and Amazon. So I just acquired a skill to build barn door hardware and build baby gates and like rustic furniture, basically. And so I acquired that skill just by going and working for one of my friends, who like they were building barn door hardware. And so, like, anyways, I acquired that skill, went off on my own, started my own Amazon shop, Etsy store. And my thought process there was like, yeah, okay, if I'm not gonna if I want to sell products or manufacture products by going to college and do business with China, like I'm just going to drop off and find my path there. So I did. So yeah, start Etsy shop, Amazon store. I scaled it from 0 to 100K in the first year, which I know that's not like anything crazy, but like I learned so much about e-commerce, like, and acquiring a skill and building and manufacturing my products, picking products, marketing it, running PPC campaigns, and that was my income for the next couple years. Um, Eventually, I moved on from that because I wanted to be exposed to bigger business. So um, I just went to like a local entrepreneur in Tennessee. I was in Tennessee at the time. I just went to a local entrepreneur that was doing the thing that I wanted to be doing. And so he was buying and developing products from China and distributing them to big box retailers, or like HSN, QVC at the time, Home Depot, Walmart. So I was just like, this is what I want to be doing. So I'm gonna go work there for like a year, acquire the skills, and then like try to go on and do it myself. So I did. I went and pitched him. I was like, yo, I speak Chinese. I I can handle all of your manufacturing stuff. I'm super passionate about product development. I understand e-commerce and products. Hire me. And he did. He hired me literally that day. So got tons of experience on distribution and real product development, actual manufacturing, with real factories. I went to China and like actually, when I went to the Canton Fair, all these product fairs, and negotiated deals with manufacturers, and got a lot of good experience. Um, so from there, then I ended up moving to Utah for for a big job opportunity with madeinchina.com. So if you're familiar, so Made in China, there's massive Chinese sourcing platforms. There's three. There's Alibaba, Global Sources, and Made in China. So Made in China was the second biggest one. So they recruited me because I spoke Cantonese and Mandarin and had like that experience. They recruited me to come to Utah and run their United States division of sourcing. So I built a procurement services division from scratch for MadeInChina.com. So I scaled that from 0 to 10 million within 2 years. And while I was there, again, I just deepened my experience in supply chain. Like that was where I got my MBA in supply chain and Chinese. It was there. And there I continued to help develop products for people and really manage their supply chains. So that's when I was exposed to the ability to use software to solve problems. So while I was at Made in China, I noticed the way that they were doing RFQs, or in other words, like requests for quotes. So I had a bunch of clients. They would need quotes on something. I'd have to gather the details, send them to my team in China, and then they would get it back and I communicate with the client. I was just like, man, the way we're doing this is so ridiculous. I actually built an RFQ management system that I ended up selling to Made in China just because I was just like, this is a massive pain in my ass. And there wasn't really a technology out there that existed. So that was my first taste of like, I can build software to like actually solve problems and like people find value in it. And so after I had that little taste of like a little exit, that's when I had my big idea, which is now Luminous. So Luminous came from while I was running that sourcing division for Made in China, and I was procuring goods for all of my clients. I noticed in my client base that they all had similar problems. They were all multi-channel e-commerce companies. So in other words, they had a native presence online, but they sold on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, Shopify. Like they sold across like 3 or 4 different channels. And their data was like all a mess. Like none of them could run a report to save their lives. And they were all pretty big companies, like, $5 million a year plus. And they were doing decent purchasing volumes. So that's when I started getting more and more curious about why is their data a mess? What is holding them back from scaling? Why do none of them have inventory systems? Like what is going on? And I started getting way more curious about the market that is all-in-one solutions and ERPs. So like NetSuite and SAP and Deer systems. And like, it's a very complex market and we don't have to get into the complexities of it, but basically I saw a gap in the market. And the gap is medium-sized multi-channel e-commerce companies. There's not a system that stands out that can come in and like be their ERP, like their NetSuite, their SAP.
Right.
And to put a bow on the story real fast, so I decided to start building Luminous. The way I started building it was actually I came to a company called Qualtree. Qualtree, again, the perfect representation of our ICP, our ideal customer profile. $15 million a year in revenue, multi-channel company. They do in-house fulfillment. I was like, hey guys, I've got a system. Bring me on as your director of supply chain. I'll implement this system for free, and you guys are gonna fucking love me. And they did. They brought me on. I implemented the system, and we were also building it. Like we started out with just like purchase order management, implemented that. It solved a good amount of their problems, and we just built out more and more features. And I actually ended up becoming the CEO of Qualtree. That wasn't part of the plan, but that was like a great launching pad for Luminous. I was CEO of a company that was our perfect ICP while we were building it out for a couple years. And then after we had built it out to like MVP status, then I went and fundraised. We raised 2.7 million. I ended up resigning from Qualtry to just go full time. And now I'm a year into, well, that's technically I'm 2.5 years into building Luminous, but I'm a year post fundraising. And that's where we're at.
I love that strategy. And I feel like that's well, I was gonna say a lot of people don't really do it, but I have no idea. I was gonna say like in to position yourself in a company that would be your potential best fit client or or like where you can basically soak up as much knowledge as possible for the product that you really like love and care about and are devoting
Oh
more
yeah.
of your passion and time to. I mean, that to me, that's a recipe for success for sure.
Oh,
Um,
it's all feedback. Just soak yourself in that feedback
oh
from your
yeah.
ICP, like
While
all the
you
negative feedback.
right, while you're obviously generating, income. Like it's just like the ultimate paid, I hate to say internship because that yields like rookiness or like a novice level, but that's
Yeah,
obviously not where you were as a CEO. But yeah, I think that's such a great strategy. Um, I do have a couple of questions that come out of your origin story, if you will.
yeah, yeah,
Because I think something that's come across my mind is like building something for the company that I worked full time at, for instance. How did you manage to like eventually pitch the idea to madeinchina.com, which was your software that you eventually literally sold them? I feel like that's a lot of people's like end goal, but they just don't know how the hell you to pull that off. You know what I mean?
I guess it's like my personality is I always just do something and then I ask questions later and I'm open to the people around me. So like I just started building it and like I might still have the conversation. I might still have a screenshot of when I was WeChatting like the GM of Main China, and I was bringing real concerns about like this RFQ process. Like, this is a fucking mess. Like you're not giving me any dev resources. Like, well, I'm just going to build something myself on my dime, and you guys are gonna buy it from me like a year later.
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Is that okay?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Screenshot done." Like, um, so I don't know. Like, I guess I've just always done first, ask questions later, and then like I didn't hide it from any like when I came to Qualtry, like it's always part of my being. Like I never hid the fact that I did a side hustle or that I'm building something. Like, no, I'm doing this. It's so it solves this problem. So I think combination of openness and just doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a really I think I hate to say important. That's not the right word. It's like an elementary word, but that's a really important characteristic or trait. I think of a great leader or founder of a successful startup is just having that fearlessness, and confidence to just go in to battle and really figure it out. You know what I mean? Rather than like
Yeah.
think, and paralyze yourself into never implementing or never building or putting any of your product in front of potential customers or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that being said, like what were there any like key moments or experiences that really shaped your leadership style and approach to running Luminous now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would say it was actually like pretty recently. So like because running a software company is so different than running like a direct to consumer brand or a like a sourcing division, client services division. Like those are so different. With me, I I had to really shift my leadership style when I was full time in Luminous, and what really helped me shift that was actually my CTO that I brought on. Um, so yeah, his name is Brendan Beebe. So one of the top CTOs in the state of Utah, and like we, it's so awesome that we landed him. Um, but bringing him on, he totally changed the way that I think um, about software in general. And this is how I put it. Um, when you're in a software company that's fundraised, your development time is your currency. Like your runway is just another way of putting that is like, what are you developing so that you can bring on more customers or satisfy your existing customer base? So Brendan came on, and through so much feedback and conversations, he really challenged my mindset, which at the time was very much reactive building. Like we were just building what the customers were telling us to build. Like, yeah, I think at the time we had like 7 clients and decent sized contracts, but um, he was just looking at our roadmap and just like, what are you guys building? And I just remember so many questions and like strange conversations with him, or I thought strange at the time, where it's just like, okay, got a feature request from a client. Here's what we need. Okay, we need to expand project management. We need to expand this. We need to do this. And this customer, they need this. And we need to ask for this. And we need to build this integration. And Brendan, like so many conversations, like I remember just like, he's just like, look at me like really quiet. And like, you just be like, but why? Like, but why? Like literally asking why to every single little thing. And honestly, like that was a massive shift in my leadership style, was asking why to every single thing that we're doing. If I'm spending really, like say I'm spending 30, $40,000 of development on something, like yeah, like we better be asking why to every single little card that is being pushed into our development sprints. Um, and more importantly, like the way I take feedback is now just fundamentally different. Um, I think before you just take feedback from a customer, and like you just decide like whether you like it or not. Like, oh, that's bullshit, or like, oh no, that's good. Yeah, let's just throw it in the sprint. Like you have to framing framing your mind so that you take feedback in a productive way, where it's like, okay, like let's take that feedback, let's sit on it, let's find the real problem that they're like highlighting, and then let's find what other systems on the market are doing, and then through that, discussing and like actually thinking through it, then let's find the proper solution to spend our development resources on. So yeah, I guess, uh, long story short, I think my leadership style right now is much more focused on feedback from, I welcome feedback from my employees and my clients. I never hide them from the raw rigors that is Luminous right now. Like it's tough right now. And it's a hard product to build, and I accept that feedback from all of my clients, but I also run it through a filter of like, why would we build that, so that we're
Yeah.
not wasting our time.
hmm Yeah, that's something that we've seen also on our side, like from a client standpoint, a handful of times, like the client will get feedback and then they'll like jump to implementation on whatever feature. There's literally one client. It doesn't matter how powerful they are. Like usually they're pretty powerful in terms of
Yeah.
like just share of business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even then, it's like if you have this vision of really scaling your company, there should never be one person that gives you input that's just like treated like the gospel. You know what I mean? So my question to
Yeah.
you is like, why do you think founders or business owners like jump to implementing whatever it is client X like requested?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question. We were doing that for a long time, and uh, um, I think I can speak for myself, actually. I can just speak for myself. I lacked high level vision. That's the raw truth. Like it's not that it's not I am a person that lacks the ability to have high level vision. That's not true. It's just in those when it comes to building the product, I was only being reactive. I think founders in those positions like me, you're just being reactive. You catastrophize this feature request in your head, thinking that this client is going to cancel if I don't build this,
Mm-hmm.
and you just rush it out, and then you realize that like, oh, if we would have just built it this way, then it would have serviced like 2,000 clients.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just a combination of being reactive, just an overall reactive mindset, and then also catastrophizing situations, thinking that clients will cancel if you don't build that feature request, which generally isn't true. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's exactly, I think, the reason why we saw what we saw from those clients that I mentioned. So backing up a little bit to what you were talking about right before that. Speaking of your CTO, was it Brendan, right?
mhm.
Yeah. How important do you think it is to bring people onto your team in order to get to where you want to go as like a founder or business owner? And then the second part of that question is, how early do you suggest, from your perspective, other founders or owners or anyone else listening should bring people on? Like, is there like a milestone that you seem appropriate? You know what I mean?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it totally depends on the context of the team. Like, so if the founding team so I can speak again, I'll speak for myself. Like my founding team, which consists, so I'm the original founder. I had another non-technical co-founder. And so like I have some technical background, like I know little bits of like coding, but like nothing, there's no way I could ever be a CTO or even like a developer for that matter. So um with that context, I knew that we had to bring on a CTO, and in fact, I need like a high level CTO. So for us, the the appropriate stage to bring on like a real chief technology officer, where I could no longer manage the development team. That was when I, there's not a right answer, but like because of the caliber CTO that I needed, we knew we needed to fundraise and get some cachet in the door to get a high level CTO. So we ended up we gave up a lot of equity, and we paid a decent amount of salary to get Brendan. But we also knew, if to answer your question, for me specifically, the goals that I want to achieve, which is Luminous with a $1 billion plus valuation within the next 5 years. Um, oh yeah, I you know two non-technical co-founders, we can only take it so far. So I absolutely needed a CTO to get us to where we need to go. And then, for example, like right now, um, we're still doing founder sales. Like when am I going to bring on somebody for like like a real VP of sales? I think it's going to be a bit, to be honest. Like I think the advice that we always get from investors is don't hire salespeople until you have a true repeatable process. Otherwise, you're just going to be firing them in a year.
Yeah.
Like, so we have about like 15 to 20 employees right now. Like that's all development or implementation or client success. We're still just doing founder-led sales. And I actually think we're gonna stay like that for a good amount of time. Um, until you have achieved some level of product market fit, it's probably best on the sales side to just I don't know, like stay scrappy founder led sales until you actually have that repeatable process is what I've heard and what I've experienced so far.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like when you were speaking to that, something that just popped into my head that oddly I haven't really thought about before is like, because I completely agree with you. The founder-led sales is like especially from an investor standpoint, that's who you want selling because they're the ones that literally made the product. They're the ones that will forever know more about it than anyone else. And that's who you want to sell the product, the person that is the expert. This is the thing I never really thought about. Like coming from your investors that you just mentioned, they were basically like, "Hey, wait until you've got serious product market fit." I've heard that before, but this thought never entered my head previously. The reason I think that's the case is because whenever you have that transfer of knowledge or responsibility from founder-led sales to salesperson-led sales, I feel like there's just a lot that you sort of drop the ball on in terms of potential sales that you could have had. You know what I mean? And if
Yeah.
you don't have
Oh
product
yeah.
market fit, you don't have a shit ton of leeway or like insurance policy, you know what I mean, to actually lose deals because you're going to lose deals
Yeah.
more than you were when you were having founder led sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like so product market fit is really interesting. There's an article about it where they talk about there's a percentage threshold of people that you need in your client base that would say they would be screwed if product X didn't exist. I think it's like 80% of your clients or something. And in that article they talk about how but like pre-product market fit, it's like you're jamming something down somebody's throat. It's like cutting through the market with a dull knife. And that's the thing, like most founders won't admit that they haven't achieved product market fit. Like if they objectively looked at it and then you ask the question to your client base, like, would you be extremely dissatisfied if Luminous didn't exist or they didn't exist? Like to be honest, I think the answer right now, even to Luminous clients, um, I don't know if we've achieved product market fit. And then that's just like the blunt, honest reality. Um, and if you're hiring a salesperson who doesn't know the market as well as you, and the reality is if you were honest with him, it would be like, hey man, we haven't achieved product market fit. You're going to be jamming this down people's throats. It's going to be feel like you're cutting through something with a butter knife. Like, you down for that? It's like really the reality is only very committed salespeople or founders can actually do that type of sell because they have to know the market that well to jam something down somebody's throat. And yeah, like I think in that same article, it talks about not only that threshold of your client base that would be extremely dissatisfied if your product didn't exist, but it should feel like you're cutting through the market with like a sharp knife when it's like, oh wow, this is really easy to sell. Like to your ICP, that's how you'll know, like, wow, these pitches are getting easier and easier. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're really selling something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Because other than product market fit, like I feel like you also need like a process that's not 100% bulletproof, but pretty damn near close. You know what I mean? And in order to properly knowledge transfer, at least that's what I think from my
Agreed.
standpoint.
Agreed.
And I think the longer you wait as a founder-led sales org, really, or business, I think just the more likely you are to develop a process. You know what I mean? And the longer you do something, um,
Yeah, it's a combo of both because like you can have impeccable sales structure where like
mhm,
outbound is dialed and inbound is
yeah,
dialed and all the automations are set up and like you have a script and but if you haven't achieved some level of product market fit, like you're fucked.
yep,
It's
exactly,
not gonna do anything.
right,
Um, so it's definitely that combo.
yeah, for sure. Um, cool. So sort of shifting gears to like the initial stages, right, of Luminous. How did you approach the beginning of building and growing Luminous? And what were some of the challenges or the biggest challenge slash challenges that you faced?
I would say, I mean, at the beginning, I was like literally, I was dumping my own money into it, my own time. Um, I mean, there's like that financial risk. It's like
Mm-hmm.
damn, when because bringing on clients at the beginning, they're not paying you. It's for free. So, you know, you the problem that I was running into at the beginning was like, when will I know that this product is good enough to like tell people they need to start paying me? And I think yeah, that was a really difficult decision. Like, when do I actually start monetizing these contracts? That because I was dumping money into it. Um, so that's the first one. I don't know if I have a great answer there, to be honest with you. Probably just that you're probably undercharging for what your value is, but like the totally contextual. Maybe there's a bunch of assholes overcharging. I don't know. Like, obviously, take that case to case. I think Luminous was bringing a good amount of value, and the answer to that question has like gone up and down. Like some clients we were overcharging, some we were undercharging. I think the biggest question for me was, should I fundraise? That was a tough one. Because I feel like we had a path where we could have kept going. We were already like cash flow positive. I think we had like 5 clients or something on like decent sized contracts. We were probably at like we were probably at like 150K in ARR or something, like nothing crazy, but like good foundation, lean, cash flow positive. It was just like, man, should we fundraise or should we not? Like, and there's like, I saw it as a clear path of, there are 2 clear paths. And it was like, okay, either we just go the slow route here and like I slowly build up good cash reserves, good client base, and then I can bring on like bigger CTOs and attract better talent, or I can fundraise and attract better talent right now and start scaling right now. Um, I think the one thing that I would say that I learned after that is fundraising doesn't solve your growth. Like, just because you fundraise doesn't mean you're now going to grow fast. Like, um, and I think it's not like I thought that, but there was definitely something in the back of my mind. Like, I was thinking about it very binary, like, okay, so there's the slow route and then there's the fast route of growth. And in reality, it's like, okay, fundraising give me? What did it give me? Well, it gave me like the cachet to attract good talent. And like, we fundraised from like top VC in Utah, from Serena Ventures. So like there were some names that gave our company cachet, like added value. So I was able to attract good talent. We could pay salaries. So like those were the positives. But like, if you ever think that fundraising is going to help you solve your product market fit faster, it's not necessarily the case. And don't be fooled by that. I think I actually thought that at one point. You're still gonna have to go through that grind of finding product market fit. It's just you'll have a couple $1 million in the bank to attract talent. So I don't know. Fundraising doesn't solve all the issues that you think it will.
That's something that I envision or think about VC funding or investment cash as like the key to opening the gate, right? So like
Mm,
the floodgates, if you will. But that doesn't mean that there's any water. You know what I mean? It just means that your
mm,
gates will open and ready to accept more people potentially,
right.
because you can hire a team, you can pay for this, pay for that. Um, I'm wondering if like there's that preconceived notion of, oh, more money equals more growth. I wonder if that comes from just like, because to me there's two sort of mindsets. There's like your personal lifestyle and then the relationship with money, and then there's like the business side, relationship with money, and what those two things can do in your personal life. Of course, if you have a shit ton of money, your personal life and your hobbies and everything will grow. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
can do whatever the hell you want. But business, like I said, it just opens the floodgate, but it doesn't produce the water. You know what I mean?
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it doesn't. it doesn't bring in extra results. Like I I still don't, I mean, I don't, I think the company would have gone down like a very different path if we didn't fundraise. You know, obviously as the founder, like I think absolutely we'd still be around, and we just would have gone like a very different route. I don't know where we would be, but I'm still happy that we fundraised, and you know,
Yeah.
we uh, I don't know, we're positioned really well right now to come out of a recession where that's gonna kill a lot of businesses in our industry. And you know, we do have the opportunity because we fundraise at the right time to come out achieving product market fit, where while a lot of businesses are going to be going under or get acquired at pennies to the dollar. So um still very happy that we did it, but yeah, it doesn't solve all the problems you think it will, and actually creates more
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah, it can for sure. Um, what did Biggie say? More money, more problems. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't like agree. Like the older I get, I couldn't agree more. Like hearing that as a kid or whatever, I'm like, that's funny. I don't even know what money
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
You're like, oh, boo-hoo. But then you're like, holy shit, he was right. This is insane.
Yep.
He's a prophet.
Yep.
That's so funny. So like speaking of the early days of the company, how did you guys identify if you did at all? Because sometimes people don't, and they just kind of shoot like shotgun spread or whatever. How did you identify and target your first customers? Because I believe you mentioned that they were non-paying.
The first one for me was I just identified one of my at the time I was running my sourcing division. I identified one of my clients as like a perfect fit for what I thought Luminous would become. And that was just this $15 million a year e-commerce brand, multi-channel. They did in-house fulfillment and they didn't have a system. So like then the next ones after that, they really, yeah, it really was through like shotgun approach. And we learned so much about who our ICP is from that shotgun approach. It's like, oh, our system doesn't really service this type of company very well. Like so like of our first five, we had a multi-channel D2C brand, we had a 3PL, we had a small direct consumer brand. We had like a massive distributor, and yeah, like those were like our first four. And from there, we really learned about what our ICP actually was. Yeah, it's crazy to say that like we even after it came a point with our like first five clients that we just had to start saying no to them. And like after a year and after I brought Brendan on, we really changed our philosophy for what we were building. We had a better long-term goal. We understood our ICP. After all those things, it came a point, there's a pivotal point in Luminous where like we just had to tell all of our original customers, like, hey, not really building the stuff that you want, like we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like so, you know, either and you just accept, you know, either they're going to churn and we're just going to focus on the people that we like, or they actually found value of the system. And luckily nobody's like, so we have one company churning right now, but other than that, like our other clients have stayed, and I think they actually appreciated us like telling them that, and they were getting value out of the system. And um yeah, that was so yeah, shotgun approach. Hit some good customers in ICP, some that weren't. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I'm sort of hearing from you, if I could distill it down, uh, just like in terms of summarizing it, it sounds like your first five clients were fairly spread to not really look like each other, which almost is like the perfect scenario, especially in a shotgun sort of situation. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
literally learned which of these customer profiles works best for what we actually want to create, and then you sort of doubled down on that and went out and got new customers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and like that, it took us a while to learn that, and it took us a while to understand why Luminous is a good fit for like the really satisfied clients, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's like it's funny, but it took us like a full year to understand that. Okay, our ICP is if you're using an order management system like ShipStation, that's number one. Okay. Number two is you sell across multiple channels. And if one of those is wholesale, like if you do direct consumer and wholesale, that's a massive plus. You have to have 10 plus SKUs and you have to do in-house fulfillment. That requires like some pick and pack functionality. And it's like, okay, if you do that, like we can, and obviously you don't have a system right now, then
Right.
yeah, we're a really good choice for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I know we're almost at time, but one last question. Can you discuss any ways that Luminous is staying ahead of the curve and remaining competitive in this insanely rapidly changing digital marketing landscape in general?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, I think first off, like our baseline for Luminous is we just want to be easier to use than our competitors. Like I just think ease of use for e-commerce owners is number one. Like great, you can do all these features, but how easy are you to use? And on top of that, like we still haven't incorporated AI into Luminous, but we're experimenting on how to do that. And in fact, like we had a leadership meeting today with, me, president, and our CTO, and we're discussing weekly like how we can get AI prompts into our inventory system. And like that is something that I truly believe like the titans, the behemoths in our industry, NetSuite, SAP, um, Acumatica, like these massive ERPs, they are going to be much slower to the races with AI, in my opinion. Their systems are so big, clunky, that you can't change things around. I think the ones who are truly going to like come in and dethrone those companies for the long term are the ones that properly incorporate AI into their supply chain management systems. And we know that we have to do that to win long term. And we're asking those questions right now on where do we put it in and why.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I'm excited to see what AI does to like not only the marketing space, but freaking
Yeah,
every industry, every
every
business.
space, man.
It's gonna change everything. But
It will.
none of us know what the hell that means,
Exactly. And I
which is
want to
exciting.
be I want to be I want to be the company in this industry that figured it out, that took risks,
Yeah,
and you know
it's huge.
got ahead. So
That's awesome. Yeah, well, Jared, appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm
yeah,
super
of course,
excited
man.
to see what Luminous does and what you guys can do with AI in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me on as well. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. No problem. Thanks again for listening to another episode of Growth and Beyond. I hope you take something you learned from the conversation and apply it to your business today. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review wherever you're listening or watching and share it with a friend. And please be sure to tune in to next week's episode where I interview another top business leader and highlight ways to achieve growth for your business. I hope you take something you learned from the conversation. If you'd like to level up your customer base and let us help you grow, email me at jacob@lowlands